is Malcolm Cannon. I'm from Chester, Pennsylvania, 33 years old, and I've been designing and tailoring for the last 20 years. For me, upcycling is probably one of the most gratifying things I've ever done or ever taught myself. I like to talk about wearing things two ways at once or, having at least like two or three pieces in one. That to me is iconic. Like far as like clothing background goes. Same thing with art. If I'm making a sculpture, if I'm making a painting, I want it to blend with something within the house or do something where the light reflects off of it and it shines a new image onto the wall. Something like that. Like that's the real deal far as art goes for me. And upcycling is art. So I started painting on clothes. I started painting on clothes for myself and then the like homies in my neighborhood, which was really nice. See somebody in your clothes. And then by the time I got to high school, that happened all the way up until maybe about like sixth, seventh grade. I got to high school and this girl I liked, I wanted to make her something and I decided to make her a bag. And I cut a pair of jeans in half, my sister's pair of like random Levi's, and I cut the top half off, sewed it up by hand, and I used the legs as straps, and that was it. And I painted on it, of course, and I gifted it to the girl, and that was pretty much one of the highlights of my life. Just seeing her reaction, knowing that it carried sentimental value from me, but just the way she accepted it carried sentimental value, I'm sure, to her. But yeah. My family shaped the environment for me. It's almost like I had two sides, a family to choose from. There's my mother's side. She's a very, she's like bona fide hustler, very street smart. And then you have my dad who is just like technical smart, and I see where I get all the kind of like artistic abilities, of like someone who went to Juilliard or something, and then, there's his uncles and my great grandmother, and same thing with my great grandfather. He was a carpenter, he built houses, so on and so forth. So it kind of mashed up and made me who I am for the most part. I think that's how it got started. No one had to tell me what to do when it came to designing or to make something. It was just a natural ability, mainly because that's what my environment was doing. I didn't know my father was these things all the way up until maybe about 20 years old even. And I didn't know my mother did these things all the way up 20 years old. And they're just telling me, "Oh, you're just the best. You're the best." And they kept pushing that narrative. And I'm just like, "Oh, I must be the best at what I'm doing." So that came in handy as far as like confidence to make something. And I kind of just took that narrative and ran with it, just started marching to the beat of my own drum at a very early age. And in order for us to change fashion in general, it doesn't matter if it's a trend or not, in order for us to change fashion into, something that means something again, like it did before, going back to like denim and, that whole beginning of cotton thing, we identified with that and we want that because of the beginnings of it, the sustainability from it, why we needed it. We had a reason why we needed something like this. And I think now we're getting a bit beside ourselves to the point where it becomes a showcasing for something you really don't need, but you want. And sustainability is putting my needs before my wants. And this is the long-term game.